On the run and out of options, Kwan and Soren have a difference of opinion. With the possibility of finding the mysterious halo on everyone's minds, John makes a horrible discovery, and the war rears its ugly head. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Campfire Gaming Podcast Reviews Halo, the TV series. This is episode 5, Reckoning. Just as a heads up, spoilers ahead. As we do every week, we will be discussing the episode in length, and we will be covering many topics, including those of which will be spoilers. So if you have not watched the episode yet, you don't want any spoilers, now is, the time to hit the pause button, watch the episode, and then come back to us. My name is Rich, and I'm going to be the host for this week's episode. And with me, as always, is Matt. Say hi, Matt.
Hi, Matt.
That was great. And unfortunately, we are down one person today. Unfortunately, Heather is sick, so she is not going to be attending with us this episode, unfortunately. So hope she gets well very soon.
Hopefully everybody's okay dealing with us too.
Yeah, I know. Yes.
And our opinions.
My hope is that it wasn't the episode that made her sick.
Oh, it could have been. It could have been. Those Kwan plot.
Right. But like, let's just dive right into it, though. I don't think that would be the case because, honestly, I actually kind of liked this episode. There's a big reason for that. We'll just get the big thing out of the way, the big surprise out of the way right now. There wasn't any but this episode.
Master Cheeks didn't show up.
Yeah, there were no cheeks this episode. So that was a big surprise.
That was the surprise, I think, for the week. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, that's not the only big surprise that happened this week. Yeah, but diving into it, there was a big battle that happens in this episode, and it showcased a lot of things and just kind of raised it. For me, I think it just raised an eyebrow at well, look at some of the stuff that they could have done more of. Now, granted, I know that there's a lot of CG in this episode, and there's a lot of bad CG in this episode.
Yep.
So they probably sunk a lot of budget into trying to render grunts and jackals and elites and a brute and all that. But honestly, this was the most that it got so close to feeling like Halo in this episode that it was just I wish this was the show. I really wish this was the show.
I mean, there are some minor complaints, but we could chalk that up to being first season and feeling it out. But this is like you just said, the most Halo. And I'll just get it out of the way because I'm a broken record on this. Honestly, had they had some more original Halo music and sound effects or from the games, to me this would have been okay, perfect, this is the Halo show I'm kind of looking for. But I'll get off my horse there, stop beating that to death. But the fight scenes were cool. We got to, as you mentioned, see grunts and jackals and a brief glimpse of a brute. So I mean, it was a lot of fun there the last what is it, 8-10 minutes of the episode.
Yeah, it was the last 10, 12-ish minutes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was I think it was pretty close to about as long as the battle that we got in the first episode.
Yeah. But this one was a lot better because you didn't have stupid whatever, insurrectionists shooting or whatever, rebels shooting and all the dumb stuff that came along with that. So it was just Spartans and Marines and a good time.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was a couple things that even from the beginning of the show, when they started these action sequences, a couple things that they always seem to get right. One is the fact that they make it kind of gory, which is honestly, I think it's a big sell to the action and makes it feel more visceral, which is kind of cool, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you have all sorts of cool stuff in there. You get one of my favorite parts of this episode was seeing the Marine get pink misted. He just gets yeeted off the back of the Warthog because he's got 10 needles sticking him in, and he just.
That was kind of a good kind of I guess callback to the previous episode where Kai was super excited about the needler. And, oh yeah, you get a couple of these stuck in you, and purple mist or whatever. And then
Yeah.
this episode, the Marine on the back of the warthog, he's shooting, gets hit with like 5 of them, and then a purpley red mist, and it was like, okay, it's pretty awesome.
Right. I was like, okay, that's actually pretty sick. And then there's this like the whole battle sequence I think was really, really neat. I thought there was some weird stuff about it. I mean, like I think, like one of the weird things about it was the Kai's plot shields.
Oh
I think
yeah,
it was that was a little insane. Like she's sitting there. So Kai in this episode, she's got her inhibitor chip gone, right?
yep.
So she's now all of a sudden feeling the effects of wartime, I guess. Which is kind of weird because it's like I feel like this is something that they would have trained them from, like even as kids, to kind of
Hmm.
handle the pressures of being in a battle situation. Now, granted, you can only simulate that so far, I
Yeah.
guess. But I
It,
mean, and we, yeah,
it really depends on this timeline when those pills or chips or whatever were put in, right?
right.
Maybe all the again, yeah. I don't know in the silver timeline when they get the chips or put in to kind of inhibit their feelings and emotions and stuff like that. But it definitely was like one of those kind of better explained to the listener. It was, if you maybe they haven't seen this movie either, but it was kind of that very like Saving Private Ryan kind of moment with her,
Oh,
where
sure. You see like
so-
Marines like
yeah,
gurgling blood and stuff like that. And they're like, "Oh, I'm
yeah,
dying."
yeah, yeah.
Oh.
She's just
Yeah.
like, you looking around, and again, I think this is they're doing it here and there, and I think it's pretty good. Is the first person shot, so it was like in her HUD, looking around and seeing that stuff, and she definitely, yeah, definitely just had trouble handling the chaos, and
Right.
uh,
Like the just the sheer massacre happening around her.
yeah. But again, to your point, depending if those pills weren't, or what trips or whatever weren't put in till farther after their training, maybe after their augmentation. Yeah, I would think she could have handled this, but
Yeah, it's just
at least her
weird.
shields can handle it.
Yeah. So yeah, she's getting shot the hell up by everything around her, and she's just kind of like, like she's an invulnerable NPC that they can't kill, you know?
Yeah, it
So she's
was.
taking all these shots, and then she's just like, you can hear the shield noise, right? Like the beep 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 beep.
Mhm.
Her shields are down, but yet she's still getting shot. She's still got shields going on, and she's just kind of like,
Yeah, you could tell the plot armor was strong with her, because even after her shields were finally down, she's done getting shot. She had an elite come up and was just like beating the shit out of her, and it's like,
Yep.
oh, okay, that was. I mean,
He was
that was
literally
probably
stomping
the
on her.
yeah, that was probably my biggest complaint about the whole scene. Obviously, there's minor things we can nitpick here and there, but yeah, that
Yeah.
was probably the worst part of it. Was just really like 20 shots or whatever,
Yeah,
and then
she's just
getting
standing out in the open, just getting blasted like Mouse from the Matrix.
yeah.
Like just yeah. It was just yeah, it was insane. It was silly. I mean, I get what they were going for, but it was just like that was one of those like it kind of takes you out of the show a little bit because you're
Yeah,
just like, oh, okay, like she's taking a lot of heat right now.
especially again, how I keep saying like sound effects can help trigger feelings and emotions and things like that. Is anybody who's played Halo CE, they know that your shields are down. You better hide and let them recharge, because
Yeah,
that
you're
was the
raw.
sound. That was the sound playing whenever she's like, her shields are gone. It's like boop 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 boop, like, and then she's getting. So for me, I'm like, well, she's dead. There's no way she's her shields are gone. She's getting hit by plasma. She should be like that kid in the first episode, just you know body parts getting blown off or whatever. But
Yeah, I mean, at first, yeah, I thought that she was going to die. Like, I
yeah.
thought that that was it. Like, she got the inhibitor chip taken out, and that would have been, like, something that they could have shown Master Chief, like, how real the stakes have gotten because she took
Hmm.
her inhibitor chip out. It made her freeze, it made her crash, and then she burned because of it, kind of a thing. But no, it looks like she's hurt, but she's not dead. At least not that we know yet.
Yeah, it's gonna. Well, I mean, we'll see this coming week's episode, but I just I we've talked about this before. I think this is going to be used to create more kind of dumb drama because
Yeah, more
you know because
UNSC drama.
because
Yeah.
we don't have enough infighting, so Chief needs to not only be mad at Halsey and Cortana, he also needs to now be mad at probably Keys too. Once he find out Keys is part of the whole scheme, and
Right.
then Kai. So it's just but yeah, no, she it'll be interesting to see what happens to her here in the next couple episodes.
Yeah, my thought would be is that like, I mean, we got that whole silly monologue last episode about how Dr. Halsey does not like glitches. She
Yeah.
doesn't like it when people are acting human, they are emotional and flawed and yada yada yada. Do you think Dr. Halsey is just going to delete Kai?
She I could see something like
I
that,
could see it. Yeah.
and hold on, even bigger twist. Just because again we like to talk about lore, game lore, and books and things like that. Maybe Halsey goes to like delete her, and somehow Miranda saves her, and then basically Kai becomes Miranda's Spartan bodyguard or something like that. Since they're super best friends now, so
Mhm.
I think they've got bunk beds back on Reach. So
I mean, I could see it happening. It could be used for more forced drama too, because like
yeah,
now, what do the Spartans think when Doctor Halsey is deleting other Spartans because they're making mistakes and things like that? Who knows?
yeah. Who needs an alien race trying to annihilate the human race when you can just have everybody fighting with each other in the
Right,
UNSC?
right. But there were other good parts of the battle, right?
Yep.
I mean, we had
No,
we
it
had we
it
had
was.
that.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say we had that giant cruiser crashing down into the dirt, which was kind of sick.
Hmm.
You had that giant UNSC ship getting blown up, and it's just kind. I don't know if like Banshees did all that work, or if like the capital ship that warped into Eridanus 2, the atmosphere, that it decided to do some damage to it. But it looked like it was just Banshees that killed that thing.
Yeah, which
I
that
couldn't
was kind
tell.
of
That was
like
weird.
it was cool to watch that happen, but I definitely had a little bit of an issue with how the battle started because I think there could have been a lot better way of doing it. Basically, what happens is Cortana goes, slip space rupture detected, and then next thing you know, Chief looks up to the sky, and I don't even remember the UNSC ship that they came in. It's the only one apparently. They had all those people there on Eridanus, but that's the only UNSC ship they brought, and it's just on fire and falling down. You see a couple banshees. I
Mhm.
wish the cruiser, you hear
Would've
a
just
slip.
blasted it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wish I wish it was a little slower on how the battle started in slip space rupture, and then like the base just goes on alert, kind of crazy, right? You start, then you see a couple banshees come in, and then just out of the clouds, the Covenant cruiser comes in and just like uses its whatever the melting beam thing to just like slice the UNSC cruiser in half or something like that, right? I think that would have been
Mhm.
such a badass way to start that fight, and then yeah, then everything could have kind of continued as normal.
Mhm.
But
Yeah. But I mean, it was kind of cool that we got to see a bunch of drop pods get launched, Covenant drop
mhm.
pods getting launched in. So that's how all the grunts and the jackals came in, were through those pods. And
Yep.
they start like charging the battlefield. You had a really cool sequence with you got a really cool sequence where Master Chief got to have more co-op than we do in Halo Infinite. So they got to ride around with their bro. You got to have all the Spartan, the
Hmm.
squad hanging out in the Warthog with like one on the gunner and Master Chief's driving around. And you got, I think Vanek was sitting shotgun or something like that. And
No, this was one of the cool things from like just lore that we get to see that you don't see in the game just because it's a video game.
oh
The
yeah,
CGI was a little off,
bad.
but watching the Spartans run crazy fast was really cool because Riz and Vanek were running because that's what the Marine was in the gun because he ended up getting fried. I don't remember who was in passenger seat. Maybe Riz was in there or something, but we got to see a couple of the Spartans running, and to me, I think that's really cool because they have crazy speed, right? And
Hmm.
you don't. I guess now some of the games you have sprint now, but typically because it's a video game, you're not going to see Spartan's crazy reaction time to just everything, right? Their augmentations make them faster than a normal human, and every movement they do, and it's only amplified on by the armor too.
Right. And
So
so you were able to see them run faster than the warthog was driving.
yeah,
Yeah. Which was cool. It was weird, but cool. Because yeah, I mean, like,
again, it
I
was
didn't
the
know that that
CGI
was a
was
thing.
off.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that that was a thing in the books that they could run faster than moving vehicles. But like,
Well, they can run fast. I don't know for sure if they could run as fast as a warthog. So, but it was just I'm just saying it was cool to see that they could run fast.
right.
We'd have to Google see the top speed of a warthog and top speed of a Spartan. So, I mean, I'd believe it if one of the Spartans was Kelly because she was like wicked. I think it was Kelly. Yeah, she was wicked fast in the books. So Kelly from Blue
Gotcha.
Team, but Blue Team is we have Silver Team instead.
Yeah. It's not blue team, it's silver team in this one. Um, what about uh oh yeah, we had we actually got some Master Chief one-liners in this episode too.
Yeah.
Like this is what I was saying. Like this actually was like it felt like a Halo. Like this felt like some Halo, like some legit Halo campaign going on. You know what I mean? Like I think he does say the line when he's walking out of the base that they have established there. He's walking out as the alarms are kind of going off, and I think he says, "I need a weapon," and then a Marine comes up and hands him an assault rifle, and it's just like, oh, that's so
Yeah.
cool. And then I think at some point there's a grunt that hijacks the warthog,
Yep.
which is kind of funny. I didn't know that like the grunt was going to be able to throw a Marine out of a warthog, but
Well,
okay,
again, like we they seem smaller in the games, but I think grunts are about as tall as us humans, right?
are they?
I think I think that yeah, I think they're
They're
about
pretty big
yeah. Again, video games you get weird
and they're
scaling
meaty.
because it's a
Yeah,
video game. So, but yeah, no, it was funny to watch the grunt just kick the dude out, and then he's driving, and then yeah, Chief jumps up. What do you say? He's like,
let
how
me.
about I
Oh,
drive or let
yeah.
me
He's like,
drive?
yeah, let me drive or something like, or mind if I drive?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and then he just like, yeah, he blasts the grunt, throws him out, and then he starts driving. He picks up Vanek and Riz, and they're like driving around as the Spartan squad. They're
hmm
playing some co-op.
I wish we got more involvement. I had this in my personal notes here that I wrote down was like I wish we got more of Vanek and well, honestly, even just we get a little bit of Vanek with his cool little one-liners because he's such a badass, But
Hmm.
but
Even
like
he's got good lines in this
yeah,
episode.
but Riz is honestly like a nobody. I was thinking about that.
I know she
Like
doesn't really do anything other than like
she's
the
just got her resting bitch face, and then she said, I think at the start of this episode, she kind of says, Chief wants us to do this and blah blah to a bunch of Marines, and then
she does the briefing too.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
we need more. Well, one, we need more Vanek because he's the most badass Spartan right now.
Oh, he's like the coolest character in the show.
Yeah, I love that guy.
Yeah. I want to see Vanek do more cool things.
Yeah,
But I
but
mean, yeah, like
I'd like to see more Riz too because we
right.
don't know if she's cool or not. She just kind of has RBF, so
Mhm.
who knows she is.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't really know what she's like good at. We know that Vanek is good at being sassy, but like we don't really know what Riz is what she fulfills in the team.
Oh, I want to throw out hold on. I wrote it down here because it was such an awesome line that Vanek said. So, before all the battling happens, Kai is being her typical chipper self now that she doesn't have the pill, and she's like, like asking Vanek, like, do you ever wonder why, we're, the Covenant want to kill us and we're killing them, and
She's
he's just,
being what is she being Griff or something like not yeah, was it Griff? She's like, "Do you ever wonder why we're here?
yeah.
Do you ever wonder why you don't wonder?"
And I loved his line. I wrote it down. He was like, "I wonder if all that gun grease in your hair didn't seep down into your brain, asking me dumbass questions like that." It's like,
Dude, that was just like a straight dab on her. Like he's just fucking like
yeah.
cue the gif,
Between that and his last week, where again, all his last week was like, "Oh, why? What makes why is Cheese so cool or whatever?" And he's just like, "Cause he's
because
the
he's the
Master
Master
Chef."
Chief. Yeah, because he's the chief.
We need more Vanek. Is
Yeah.
basically what we
Vanek
need.
is the
So
best. He's the best thing to come out of this show. Now I almost wish that at least if anything were to become canon, he would become canon.
yeah,
That's the thing that's going to make me the most sad. Honestly, I didn't even think about that. Like if there was actually really cool shit to come out of this show, I would be almost a little disappointed that it wouldn't be canon. Like
Yeah.
Vanek or something like that. Like Vanek not being canon it makes me a little sad.
Vanek and Soren's bucket helmet.
Yep, and the Soren bucket helmet. And that went nowhere. He ditched the helmet this episode. He didn't even have it anymore.
Yeah, I didn't. I think
He
he
didn't
had it
have it. Yeah.
initially, and then like it was gone. So
Yeah. He motorcycles out into the. I mean, like I'm not gonna spend a lot of time going over the stupid Quan plot because I think everybody kind of agree. Like, I think if whether you like the show or you hate the show, I think everybody kind of agrees that this Quan plot is kind of stupid and not really going anywhere.
and even more so in this episode where the majority of the characters that we're following were in kind of the main plot and everything going on with the artifact. This was, let's show, I think it was like 3 or 4 scenes of, oh, their motorcycle broke down. Soren went away, but locked Kwan on the bike.
Quan has a temper tantrum.
She throws a tantrum, somehow gets out, somehow hides in dirt, and then Soren comes back with another thing and she knocks him out.
Yep. And she points
And then you're like,
his golden revolver deagle at him.
yeah. And it
And
was
that's
just, it was crazy how she snuck up on a what used to be Spartan. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know.
sure.
I've
She's
checked out
so
of that plot.
crafty. She's so crafty. That Quan.
It's she's like what's this? Samson. If you cut her crazy hairdo, she'd lose all of her craftiness and ability to, do anything. So
Right.
yeah,
Exactly.
it's their haircut that's given all her power.
Yep. it's the Quan mullet that's given her strength.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's about as far as we can go on that plot because yeah, like it
There's
truly
nothing else to talk about.
there's nothing else to talk about, and it truly I do believe is just doing nothing but dragging the show down. Like it's something that they need to get rid of. They need to give us more action sequences like what we got this episode because that was actually fun. That was fun to watch. I had fun watching the
Yeah.
show this week. That was great.
No,
I want more of that.
Whoever thought, the Quan plot was a good idea, I'll sit here and we can argue, oh, we should have stuck to lore, whatever. But like, again, like you said, I think if we talk to anybody that's watching the show right now, they'd be like, yeah, I hate Quan and why, and she's dragging Soren down too. Soren was, I thought, a cool character, and then once they've left the rubble, I'm like, this guy's dumb and he's making a stupid decision. He needs to put a bullet in her head and go back to being badass.
Yep, and then peace out. Yeah, because he was just as cool as Vanek, and now he's just making dumb decisions just for the sake of progressing Quan's plot.
Yeah,
and it sucks.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the battle. The battle is still pretty cool.
Forget Quan. Let's go back to
Let's go back to the battle. So the battle was pretty cool because we even got to see like a lot of Covenant ships too. We got to see a Phantom. We got to see a Seraph even, which was awesome. We got the tuning fork ship.
I love seeing both. I thought that was a kind of cool little throwback that they did, bringing in both drop ships. And
yeah, that was cool. It was nice to see both of them. I
was confused at first where the Brute came from, because like the way he jumped down, I was like, oh, like he didn't jump from the side. Then I forgot the what do you call it? I forgot the name of the tuning fork dropship. They have anyways, they have a little like gravity portal thing kind of in the main part of it. So I was like, oh, that's right. That's where because that's the same way he goes back up. But that would have been so cool if that had come in and dropped like a whole bunch more, grunts and jackals and maybe a couple elites and stuff. So
right. Yeah. No, I mean, it was really cool. I mean, we got a lot of really nice, we got some good badass Master Chief moments, which was really fun. Like, when he re-hijacks the Warthog back from the Grunt, when he sees that Kai is dying, he goes and, does what Chief does, is he goes to rescue her. And he goes to save his friend, his Spartans, because Spartans are bros. Everybody loves the Spartans love each other, and that's how they were trained. So that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
And then
he does a banshee to go.
he jacks a banshee, which is kind of cool, and then he drives it right into a Phantom, and then you get to see some cool it's fun when you see like humans getting their limbs blown up, but you got to see like a jackal like blown up in half, and he's like crawling after the explosion. He's just like,
Yep.
and then he dies. Yeah, it's crazy.
It was a little goofy that driving the Banshee into the ship and then the explosion, and he survived. But it was cool, so I'll let it. I'll let it slide this time.
Yeah, that's a very chief thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then and then he goes and rescues so he rescues Kai. He just runs up to her, I think, and then
Well,
he
he gets in
kills
a
the
fist
elite.
fight with the elite that was kicking her while she was down or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and then punches his face in. Which I'll be honest, the okay, again, outside of the Kwan stuff, that's always going to be the worst part of the episode. But my only other biggest complaint about this episode, I think this was both so far of 5 episodes, the we saw the best of Chief and the worst of Chief in this episode,
I agree,
and
but we didn't see his cheeks.
yeah, we didn't see his cheeks. So I still have this problem with them making him this weird emotional. He's just a rage filled dude. Like it just he's not this cool headed, calculated.
He's not
You
like a
know,
master tactician
get
kind of
the
like
yeah
leader type figure, like that's the weird thing that I always thought was with how they're approaching Master Chief in the show, is that like, I mean, and I would argue so that I know that there's people who think that, if you were to take Master Chief from the games and put him into the show, it wouldn't work. And I disagree.
yeah
And the
same
reason that I disagree is because while, yes, you don't really see Master Chief's face because he's kind of like a catalyst for the player to kind of insert themselves into the Master Chief. Master Chief very much has his own personality, and how he
hmm
interacts with Cortana shows that. He's very cold, he's very quiet, he's very calculated, he's very like, but he's very capable. He
yep
is very much like, like a sci-fi superhero in some senses,
hmm
you know?
just because he doesn't talk much. I mean, he does a lot of in a way communicating with his actions, right? And how he approaches problems in the games. Obviously it's all about saving the universe and stopping the Covenant and stopping the Halo ring and all
Right.
that
I
stuff,
mean,
but
exactly. It's not me that's making Master Chief say really snappy one-liners like "I need a weapon." No, that's Master
hmm
Chief and his personality. Like that all shines through in the campaign very, very well. And I full on disagree that people say, "Well, you can't bring the Master Chief from the games in because he's too much of a blank slate to be
yep
a viable character in a TV show." And that's why I disagree, because he's got plenty of personality. He just doesn't like, all of that happens throughout the cutscenes and the dialogue with Cortana. That's the whole fun of the campaigns
hmm
and the story of Halo, the game, like especially the first, 1 through 3, is that you have that relationship building between Master Chief and Cortana, their banter, their
hmm
personalities clashing over stuff and things like that. Like that's great. That is the drama, like the little bit of drama that makes the campaign of the video game so well. And it's not the player doing that sort of stuff. The player
yep
is just a vessel for the action to happen, but you have a big CGI budget to make the action happen. You don't need the player anymore, but you can keep the personality.
yeah it the thing too is, like you said too, like with the interactions with different characters and stuff too. We also saw, I think, a very bad interaction. Again, it's going into the whole them writing Chief and now Chief and Cortana's relationship really weird in this.
Mm-hmm.
He's not only this rage filled guy with filled with emotions that he can't control. Now he's going to be, I'm assuming, moving forward even more at odds with Cortana, because before a lot of the battle starts, is he goes and touches the artifact again. He gets more memories, realizes that Halsey was there, and this is where I thought was kind of cool. A little bit of a callback to the books. You get what looks like them swapping out a Flash clone with him when they kind of, because
Yeah.
they kidnapped him.
Right.
And he sees Halsey there, and realizes that she kidnapped him, been hiding all this stuff from him. Who knows what they did to his family and all this. And he literally, she walks into the room after he's had his crazy little flashbacks and turns around, sees her, and she's like, I can explain, just like, let's get back to Reach, blah, 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 let's get the artifact out of here. And he goes to like kill her. And
Mm-hmm.
then
Yeah, he just gets overwhelmed with emotion and tries to kill her.
and then Halsey does the whole like Xbox off thing. He since she controls whatever the connection to his brain or whatever, she turns Chief off, right? And I'm sitting here again. You're now again. We'll see how they play it in the next couple episodes, but now again, Chief is at odds not only with Halsey, now he's at odds with Cortana. We see him a little bit at odds with Kai. You know, like it's it's so weird how they're writing him and the various relationships that he has with people that traditionally in the books and the games, like he's got great relationships with. Him and Cortana are a team. Him and all the other Spartans look up to Halsey as like a mother. And since I know it's different because it's a timeline, but since the Spartans in the games in the books know that they were essentially kidnapped, but given the option to stay and become humanity's next step and next hope, and obviously luckily saved us from the Covenant.
Yep.
So like they knew what she did, but still kind of looked up to her as a mother and looked up to her as somebody that made them into what they are today, right? These saviors of humanity and stuff. So it's so weird how they're writing his character and his relationships.
Yeah, to make him be very combative with the people that he's trying to protect, you
Hmm.
know? It's just yeah, it's so bizarre. Like he's combative with Kai when he finds out that she took her pill out.
Even though
And
he
so he
took his out, it's
yeah,
like
even
and
though he took
she,
yeah. Yeah, she
and she
calls him on it too.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
she
was
tells him like he says, "Kai, you're not fit for duty because, you're grounded and
go to your room.
yeah, you're grounded. Go to your room. You took your
No
pill
dessert
out
for a week.
and you're emotional and you can't be doing that." And she's like, "Yeah, what about you?" And then nothing. He's like, "I'm
I'm
different."
Vanek should have walked up and been like, because he's the Master
Cuz
Chief.
he's the Master Chief. Exactly. Yeah, so that was like and I think this just boils down to I mean, I think if we just kind of I think we've kind of come to terms with it at this point between
Yeah,
you and I that like the writing in the show is not super great just in
that's putting
general.
it
Like
nicely.
yeah, like the writing in the show is not very good. There's a lot of conveniences. There's a lot of really clunky dialogue. There's a lot of really forced drama, which
Yep.
makes it feel weird because it's not very logical in how it
Yeah.
approaches a lot of this drama. And I think we just kind of are now getting to the point where we're just coming to terms with it. And then it's like, well, if that's the case, then just give me more battle
Yeah.
scenes so I could
I,
just like turn my brain off and watch jackals explode or something like
yeah.
that. Like that's cool. I like that.
I think I've kind of come to terms. I'm numb to the fact, and I'm trying to find the little good nuggets in the shit.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and again, this was probably a good episode to make that turn because of the last whatever 10 minutes with all the crazy fighting and all the badass kind of stuff that happens. I mean, we even forgot to mention it was so goofy, but it was really cool. After Chief blew up the Phantom with the Banshee, and he gets up and he's all badass. Which again, sorry, I'm doing it again. Where is the good Halo music in this? Because he stood up and it was like little notes of the shitty intro music, hero music, generic music there.
Hmm.
But anyways, he stands up and everybody is kind of stunned for a second because of the explosion and everything that happened. And then they go back to fighting. And Chief had like 2 rounds in his pistol. He shot something and then he starts running because he's going to save Kai. And then a grunt gets in his way and he just chucks the
Yeah.
gun right at the grunt's head.
Yeah. He yeets the pistol right at the grunt's head and it just knocks his ass over. And I'm like, that's so cool. I'm
Yeah,
so glad I got to see something like that. Like we've never seen that before in
yeah.
Halo, like games or other as far as I know otherwise.
We need that. We need that in the game now. If you're empty, no ammo, you can chuck your gun.
Yeah, you just whip your gun at them. Yeah. Come on,
Come on, we
343. What are you
we could put
doing?
we could put Tediore manufacturing in this, right? That's a
From
if you know that,
Borderlands.
yeah, the
Yeah.
the guns from Borderlands that you
Yep.
chuck and they explode. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can put some of those in there. But I mean, like, even that whole sequence was really cool because yeah, he whips he flips the pistol at the grunt. Grunt falls over. He goes in, he grabs a shotgun from the ground, and he's just bang, bang, bang. Like he's just doing like it's like that really violent scene from the Kingsman where they're
Hmm.
they're playing free bird, and he's just like flipping around killing everybody. That's
Yeah,
kind of what this was like. He was just, spinning around, just like killing all the things, and dropping weapons, picking up new ones, because that's really Halo. Like that's very Halo too. Like
yeah,
you're just dropping weapons, picking up the Covenant ones, blasting their ass. Like it's just, yeah, it was so good. It was so Halo. Like that whole sequence was very very Halo, and I loved
yeah.
it.
No, it was and then well, it was also fun watching his ass get kicked there towards it. So he will say saves Kai, right? He goes over, bashes in the elite's face in,
Hmm.
and then kind of through everything, all the action happening. So the main UNSC ship blew up. They were going to try to get it to Miranda's ship. That gets hit. So Miranda and couple scientists have to escape to Halsey's ship. So like all this time, the Warthog with the artifact is trying to get to these very ships, and it's about to get to Halsey's ship when it gets hit, and the artifact gets thrown away. Well, Chief goes to run to get it because that's when the Seraph comes in and drops in your first brute,
Yep,
and
we get a brute for the first time too. Yeah.
it was just really cool to watch him. Like he's running, and then the brute comes in with the hammer, and he slides, grabs a jackal shield, and then the brute basically smacks him away like he's nothing with his gravity hammer.
Hmm.
So
And then he takes the artifact, and then he
yep,
pieces out.
yep. Do you think this potentially could be a brute that we know,
Or like
like
a Tartarus or something
like
like that.
Tartarus or Atriox?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm like, we don't know if like brutes just normally get to have those massive gravity hammers.
Yeah,
So it's hard to say. Like my first thought, of course, was Tartarus, because like, what's the most famous brute from the Halo series that had a big gravity hammer?
yep,
You know,
Tartarus.
and that would be lore appropriate for this time period. Would be Tartarus.
We said this the other week or last week when we didn't get a lot of the Covenant story, and say it again it'd be nice to get more of the Covenant side because we have our theories on the pointy elite bro and the elite that snuck away in the first episode with the
Hmm.
not the overshield, the invisible shield. Like, could that be the Arbiter, or is that just some random bro? Like, and then now we have a brute that is at Tartarus, or are they going to try to kind of shoehorn Atriox in before he kind of turned and created the Banished, or maybe the Banished are never going to exist in this universe. I don't know. But
It's hard to say. I mean, I think like, I don't know, maybe 343 is proud enough of their whole the lore behind Atriox and that whole group that they're willing to shoehorn that into the show. I don't know.
yeah,
Hard to
I mean,
say, but I mean,
Atriox,
it was cool seeing a brute.
yeah, Atriox was part of the Covenant for a while, so
Yeah.
we'll
I
see
mean,
what
so this
happens.
is kind of cool. We've kind of gotten like the whole package. The only thing we really didn't have, we did there were a couple things that we really didn't have in in this particular battle, and there was no hunters, but we've
Yeah,
seen hunters, which is kind of cool. So I mean, like that's not a big deal.
we've seen a leg, and then we've seen the worms that make up the hunter.
Yes, yes, we've seen the worms. Um, the Covenant
we
didn't have any ground vehicles or anything like that on
yeah
this in this
we
particular battle, but they didn't really need them.
we
So I'm
had
not.
jackals that had energy, like medium sized energy swords,
Yep,
which was kind of cool to watch them go crazy on some marines with that.
and some of them had plasma rifles too,
Yeah.
which is like okay, well that makes sense. Like I don't know why they never would have picked them up to begin with.
Hmm.
So I mean that's kind of, I mean just wait till we get some of them jackal snipers. Am I right?
Yep. I mean, that's
Maybe
game
they'll,
over.
yeah, they'll be like Halo 2 grade jackal snipers. Let's go. I'm ready to see some people get domed.
Yeah. It's just a whole episode of Chief dying, run around a corner, die, run around a corner, die.
That'd be kind of cool, actually. I mean, not the chief dying part, but like having like being pinned down by a bunch of jackal snipers would be that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Be a good throwback to the games, I think.
Yeah. I wish they'd pick up the plots with the Covenant a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, like
And
so that's what we keep saying, right? Is like drop the Quan stuff, give me more of anything else.
yeah,
Like maybe not like the UNSC drama, like all the stuff between.
that hit another low this episode
It
too.
did, yeah. Like between like all the like getting all the information about the how Halsey found John and probably a bunch of other kids that she took for the Spartan program. We see Chief saving a kid
which is
from
goofy.
dying. Like, again, this is why this show has got really shit writing, because it's like you have a bunch of kids rocking themselves between on a tiny ass bridge in between a couple of trees, and it's like they're trying to knock each other off the bridge, and then one falls, and then they're like, "Oh my god!"
And a
Like,
6-year-old kid grabs it with one arm and is able to lift this other bigger kid back onto the platform.
yes.
Uh, the whole thing for me though had me thinking, the Mallrats. The kid's back on the escalator again. Just like the kids are back on that weird tree thing again. What are they doing? Someone, you know.
Get him
But
down.
I mean, we kind of the important thing about this flashback too is that's when we first find out that Keys is along
He's
the
in on
ride,
it. Yeah.
along with Halsey,
Yeah.
which plays a little bit in the episode, which again I think is going to play into more drama with Chief. Right now, Keys and Chief are kind of, kind of appear to be buddies, and it sounds like Captain Keys is his senior, his captain or whatever, right?
Yep.
Uh,
It's his superior. Yep.
which is a little like more of like a training, and or more than just training, I should say, is like, the one that's in charge of sending them out and the Spartans out and stuff like that. It seems like a little different relationship is what I'm trying to say than Keys and Chief in the games, right?
Yeah.
There
Right.
seems to be a little bit more direct reporting rather than, oh, he's a captain of the ship and here's
Yeah.
Chief, right?
The other thing is I really wish that they would, like, I really wish that they would specify how old the Master Chief actually is, because in that shot he was, probably like 7, maybe 8 years old when he was catching that kid on the bridge, and then
Hmm.
he aged to be a full-grown man, and it looks like Halsey and Keys aged like 5 years.
They use some what look to be like really shitty, like
It
almost like
looks
an
so
Instagram
bad.
filter to try to make Keys and Halsey look a
It
little
looks
younger.
Yeah, and it didn't work. They didn't look younger at all. Like, you would think
Yeah.
that, yeah, if they were aging like 20 years, it would look vastly different.
I thinking about this a little bit more now. I don't know why they didn't go with the whole King of the Hill thing.
I
Because
don't know.
that was the whole thing, like whenever Halsey
They
first
had the
saw
coin flip
Gunn,
thing. Yeah, from
they
like
had
2
the coin
episodes
flip,
ago. Yep.
but like to me the again it would have played more into Chief and being the leader and fighting to be, the top and winning, he always wants to win. Where the whole, you know, balancing on a beam and then he lifts a kid up with one arm, like what is that? Like anyways, another little nitpick on how they should have done something from the lore rather than whatever stupid shit they did here. So
Mhm. But yeah, so I mean that true. Like, all the UNSC stuff still is kind of the low point of
yeah.
the show. It's still one of the lower points of the show. Let's be real. The Quan pot is the low and will be the lowest point
Mhm.
on the show unless something really important happens.
It doesn't make sense why a lot of the UNSC stuff, all the infighting is so stupid. Everybody is fighting with each other and it all feels forced. And then whenever like they start threatening each other, it's like Parangoski telling Halsey, I'm going to cut your funding. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
And it's just like, what a
like,
cheap, what a weak threat.
yeah,
Like, then
this is,
do it. Don't just say you do.
and
Don't
then,
say you're
and
going
it,
to do it, then do it.
and then Parangoski says that Halsey, and then Halsey's like, "Well, I'm gonna tell Dad that you like." She's like, "I'm gonna go talk to Admiral Hood," and like, what? Like,
I'm going to go tell dad on you.
God, it's just so bad. Again, there is, in the lore we know is like, there is kind of fighting. Not, I don't fightings. There's a lot of kind of trying to win out on your project or kind of be on top. There's a lot of that kind of, you know, behind the back, maybe backstabbing stuff that goes on in like the other universe timeline stuff. But this whole like in this universe timeline where they're just like mad at each other and threatening to cut each other's funding and go to dad if they do.
Mhm.
It's so goofy. It could have been done so much better.
Yeah. And so I guess the last big point, the last big plot point, I guess, that I want to talk about, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. They retrieve the artifact. Why did they send McKee down to the planet? I don't
I
know what the purpose was for that.
Yep. So like the very end of the episode, the Covenant get the
You see her
artifact.
playing with her Wolverine
Yep.
energy sword nail.
Yep.
Yep.
And she's like, make it look real or whatever it was. And then she gets shot. She gets shot down in a drop pod. They fire 2 shots that missed the drop pod that I think make it look like she escaped from the ship, and then Chief walks up and takes his helmet off. Which, by the way, he does all the goddamn time now. So like,
Right.
but I she's clearly, I mean, she's doing what she set out to do, right? Try to infiltrate and get, well, I think, what is it, kill the demon and get the other artifact. So this is, she's trying the whole thing like she did 2 episodes ago of like, oh no, I was captured and I got escape, I escaped now, the Covenant were holding me hostage, and now she's gonna, I don't know. Maybe Chief will turn to her now, because he's fighting with everybody else, Kai and Halsey and Keys and everybody else. Maybe Maquis will be all friendly to him, and I don't know.
What does she try and do and like assassinate him, I guess? Like, I guess good
I
luck.
I imagine, and I was thinking about this, or maybe it was you that said it, or Heather the other night when we watched it, the episode. Like, who's the one person they've shown here that is expendable, right? Because they're not going to obviously stab Keys or
So,
Miranda, or it's going to be
the
rape
yeah,
doctor.
the creepy doctor.
Yeah, so I imagine maybe she tries to kill Chief, and I don't know, rape doctor's around, and I don't know, I don't know,
I
takes
don't
it in the
know. I
eye.
guess I guess if I really wanted to go for cliche writing, they would probably axe somebody really important but not important. Like Miranda Keys would get killed. Like they would probably just kill off Miranda Keys' character or something.
Yeah, I
And it
just
would try to be something shocking, or maybe she'll kill like Riz or something like that. Like something really, really huge like that.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't think I think the creepy doctor's pretty safe, but maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. We need him to be creepy some more.
Yeah, he's got a love affair with the artifact now, it seems. So
He does. Everybody
I
does.
don't leave the artifact or whatever.
You saw how Maki reacted when she touched the magical artifact. She looked like she was
Oh,
having a grand old time.
that was one of the weirdest scenes. Like, again, talk about shitty writing. So the we get like weird little, what, like 30-second clip of Maki back on Madrigal, where the original art, or the first artifact was found,
Yep.
and then something starts vibrating. She goes up and touches it, has an orgasm, and magically
She knows where everybody is. Yep.
knows where the second artifact is.
Yep.
And again, I don't have a map to the universe on where Eridanus and Madrigal are, but whatever, 10, 15 minutes later, the Covenant are attacking and she's there at Eridanus. So I don't know. But yeah, it's so weird. But I mean, Chief kind of had a similar type reaction, just
Mm-hmm.
his eyes rolled back, or whatever he was doing, when he touched it. I don't get it. I don't get what's going on when they touch these things. So
Yeah.
I mean, if it feels good, I mean, sign me up, get me one of these Forerunner artifacts. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Weird
Looks like
shit.
they were good. They were having a good time.
Good time. Just
Yeah.
all I could think of, I know I sent the gift to you guys afterwards on Discord, but the whenever Maquis touched the rock, it was just the O face from Office Space. Oh. Just the writing. Yeah, the
Yeah.
writing in this is so fucking weird.
It's so bizarre. All right. Well, I think that about covers it. Do you want to go to scores? Is there anything else
Sure.
that you want to cover with the
I'm
episode?
looking.
I think
Looking
that was
real
most of
quick
the episode.
here.
We talked about the growing up scene. We talked
Yeah,
about the Halsey betrayal and Master Chief getting Xbox offed.
yeah. The one thing I did want to mention, is really isn't a good or a bad thing. It's just weird. This clocked in only at about 39 minutes.
It was
Where
short.
it was really weird.
Yeah,
I remember
it
it
was a
ended
short
and I was
episode.
like, was I having that much fun? And I was like, no, that was only so that was a little odd. Hopefully that doesn't continue and we continue to have longer episodes. Unless, I'd be perfectly fine. Paramount Plus, I know you're listening to this. If you just want to cut the rest of Kwan's story out and the episodes are like 40 minutes, who cares? I'm all for it. So.
Mm-hmm.
But sure, yeah, score. Do you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, I'm gonna give this one. So I definitely had a lot more fun with this episode than probably any of the episodes that we've seen thus far. I think
Yep.
just the battle scene alone was enough to carry the episode to like a 6. Um,
Okay.
and I think that's probably where I'm gonna sit. Like, yeah, like there was a lot of like maybe even like if I was feeling really generous, probably even a 7. Like a 6 sounds about right though. Like a 6 or a 7.
Yeah.
Like the Kwan stuff was just it's just a meme at this point. Like her having just like a literal temper tantrum being stuck to the bike,
Yeah.
it
Oh,
made me laugh out loud at just how stupid that was. And how I was
it,
just like, she really is a child. Like
yeah.
she's
It's
she's
just,
she's just like "Ah!" and I'm just like, oh my god,
yeah.
somebody spank her right now.
Yeah. It's, yeah. It's
Yeah.
embarrassing. So,
And then of course, yeah, like the UNSC drama, it's kind of lame. I don't know. It's just it's not something that I'm not it's not selling me on it being important enough to be bigger than the stakes of a human covenant war, which now that we've finally seen some actual like battle going on between the UNSC and the covenant, it's like you can kind of tell that yeah, like there is something going on. I'm still not really sure why like they had the super cruiser there, why they didn't just like laser the whole area and just kill all of the humans that were right
yeah.
there. I think that was kind of weird why they would decide not to do that.
CGI budget couldn't cover it. So,
Yeah, they ran out of the budget. They ran out of budget. Um so yeah, I think a 6 would probably be appropriate. It's probably one of the best episodes of this season so far.
I mean, so far my favorite, and because of that, I'm going to give it an 8. No, I'm just kidding. So, it's a 5. It was tolerable, right? It's right in
Yeah.
the middle. Wasn't overly bad, and to me, it was. I mean, was to me, it wasn't good enough to give a higher score just for a 10-minute fight scene. You need for me the whole episode needs to be pretty decent for me to probably go above 5 at this point. But
Mhm. Especially
uh,
with like it being a shorter episode too.
yeah, it's. I mean, to your point or to your comment about the covenant and stuff, it's good to see him, but I'm going to argue that I don't think I think there's a war between the covenant and humans, but it's not a main plot. There, it's just an inconvenience to them. Something to kind of somebody racing to find this halo together, right? Yeah, they're more powerful. We have seen that, but it really doesn't feel like that doom and gloom. Like literally, they're annihilating us everywhere unless Spartans are involved. That is the one place where if there were Spartans involved on ground, you know, uh, whatever maneuvers, actions, battles, generally they just kicked Covenant ass, right? We do that in the game
Mhm.
too, right?
Right.
But for the most part, if there were no Spartans or it was anything in space, the UNSC got destroyed. So to me, like that's not even a plot at all. It's just an alien race and they fight with them, and that's so. I hope, as I've said before, I hope we get more into that conflict and there's more there than just they're fighting each other. But yeah, no, I mean the episode was fun to watch as far as the last couple minutes.
Yep.
It was nice. It would have been nice if there was no Quan, but it was nice that there was only like what 2-3 minutes of it overall.
Mhm.
uh but yeah, it was a 5. It was tolerable.
Okay.
So
Cool. Well, there you have it. There's our scores for this week's episode of Halo the TV series. Definitely the best one so far. Hopefully it gets better from here.
uh, I'm gonna be the Debbie Downer. I think the next 2 episodes are gonna go back into a lot of the
They're going
lame.
to be it's going to be really slow again.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be slow like the last couple episodes, but
Yeah,
we'll see.
probably. We'll see you
We'll
on
see.
Thursday. All right, cool. Well, thank you very much, Matt, for your input. It's always nice talking to you about
Yeah,
Halo
it's always
stuff.
fun.
It's
It's
always
always fun.
fun. And thank you, listener, for listening to this week's episode of the podcast of this review of the Halo TV series. Be sure to check out our normal mainline series if you are not super familiar with that. We do run a podcast every week that gets released on Saturdays. We talk all sorts of video game related news and um, tech and things like that. So be sure to check that out. If you're coming from YouTube, sure to give us a like and a subscribe. We'd love to get this podcast to as many people as possible. We'd love your feedback as well, so be sure to comment. Uh, Go to our website, campfiregamingpodcast.com. You can find a link to our Discord there, and we'd love to hear from you there too. With that said, and follow us on Twitter at Camp Game Pod. You can give us your feedback there. Tell us what you think. Did you like this episode? Do you thought it was bullshit? Like, was the action good enough, or was the CGI too bad for you to handle? We'd love to hear from you regardless if you liked it or not. And with that said, we will catch you guys next week. We'll be reviewing episode 6 next, and we will see you next time around the campfire.